It's like what we used to say in football. Like they would say, heart can't be coached. You either have it or you don't. You know what I mean? So I think it's the same in business. I think everybody likes the glitz and glam, you know, the idea to wear the nice suit, the Hugo Boss suit, the Armani suit, whatever, the made to measures, the fly around and look at properties and everything else like that. But when things get real, well, and you got to stomach something or you got to take some form of a loss, that's when it comes down to see if you truly and really want to be in the game. And I think that's the part that can't be coached. And I think that's just in business as a whole.
Welcome, guys. Welcome back. This is Todd Robinson with the Robinson Review, Life, Law, and the Pursuit of Wealth. I have with us today a very special guest. I'm really glad for you guys tuning in. His name is Randall Guyton with Guyton Capital. So real estate investor, amazing dad, entrepreneur, all sorts of good stuff that he's got a lot of game, a lot of value that he's going to bring to this episode. So we're going to talk all things. He's actually also a mentee of mine, and we helped him close one of his first apartment acquisitions. So we'll talk further about that process and how that was for Randall. So without further ado, Randall, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Todd. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, awesome. So let's just kind of jump right into it, man. So give us a rundown of Randall Guyton and Guyton Capital, and kind of your backstory here.
All right. Well, I break it down pretty simple. I'm Randall Guyton, born and raised in Miami, Florida, but I spent a great deal of time in Georgia as well. Actually the first generation of my family that was actually born in Miami. Everyone else was born in Georgia. So I was always back and forth my entire life. As far as even when it comes to business and real estate and things of that sort, I had a passion for that all my life. I actually first started managing my first property at 11. My grand Yeah, my grandfather and my dad actually brought, small multifamily apartment buildings in South Florida. So I've
Wow.
been around it yeah, I've been around it literally all my life. So I got the grunt work in early on, far as knowing, what it was that I actually wanted to do. But once I end up, going off to school and majoring I actually went off to school to major in pharmacy. I was in a pharmacy program for 2.5 years, but then I changed my major to finance once I realized that I didn't wanna work in the CVS all my life. You know what I mean? Cold. So I went ahead and did that. And when I came back from school, my first company I started was a commercial janitorial company. So I started that at how old was I? What, I would say 22 years old. I built that out. We focused solely on food and beverage departments in the hotel space. I end up closing Boulogne South Beach. I end up closing a W. I end up closing True Lux. It's a high-end restaurant chain. I end up closing a couple of diagnostic centers. We did pretty good, and that was my first exit. I end up selling that company 3.5 years later to a firm out of Boston, Massachusetts. I sold that. Yeah, they made me sign a non-compete, and I was out of the game. And then from that point on,
What
I
what'd you sell it for? Do you know? Do you remember?
what the price?
Yeah.
Would prefer not to
Is it
discuss.
confidential?
Yeah.
It's confidential.
Yeah, just in case. But,
Yeah, but when you say you were selling these stores, you were actually going out and closing those deals, right? I mean, you were closing the contracts.
so basically what I did, I actually built a janitorial company. Once I actually built that up, we ended up signing on this company called Rainmaker. What they actually did was they just got on the phones. They hit the phones for me all day long. Once they hit the phones and set up the appointments, me and my team then went out and closed the actual deals. We then also staffed them and managed and overseen. And at that point, once we would actually, even when I went into the acquisition of selling, it wasn't even planned. What happened was the actual company who came in to actually purchase, they was also in the hotel space. I had a few great hotels down the Collins Avenue on South Beach, and they wanted into those. So they came to me with the understanding of, hey, we will purchase your company to purchase these contracts. And that's how we actually went about that. And that's when I first got into the space of building, holding, pushing out.
Yeah, let me ask you this. So before that, did you ever have a W-2 job?
Did I ever have I had one W-2 job, and that job, I was a property manager for,
Okay.
Continuum South Beach. At that particular time, it was considered to be, if not the most expensive condo association in America. Our cheapest unit, I'm sorry, was about $6 million, and that was a studio. Our cheapest parking space was about 250,000. We had everything, and that's why I also built a great deal of relationships. I met, I'm not too sure if you remember, are you familiar with Tanger? I'm pretty sure you see all the Tanger shopping
Oh, Tanger Outlets. Yeah, Tanger Mall. Yep.
exactly.
Yep.
I built a relationship with Tanger through there. Another great relationship I built by the gentleman by the name of, Carlos Garcia. He actually created, which is kind of like but he created the gun, the Tech Nine. Uh, Peyton Manning lived there. Pharrell Williams lived there. I mean, so it was a extremely high end class AAA property.
What moment in time, if you could pinpoint something that where you knew you wanted more from your W-2, or you knew you wanted you when did you know you wanted to make the jump into
I'll be
entrepreneurial?
honest, since day one. So you got to remember. So I spent a great deal of time around my father and my grandfather. My grandfather never had a W-2, never. Everything that I seen my grandfather do, he was always the boss. So since the beginning of time, he used to say this little saying all the time. He would say, and it's nothing against W-2s, anything like that, but he would say, a man should not allow another man to dictate and determine how he provides for his family. So that was something that stuck with me for a long time where it was like, okay, the W-2, I have no problem with that, but I would never want myself to be bound to a W-2 because then someone else controls my destiny. So from the beginning of time, I knew for a fact that I had plans to go elsewhere, as far as in business. Even when I took my job after college in the property management space, I wanted to get more familiar with being able to manage A class because I was already pretty good with C class and B class and that little space just due to my family. But I wanted to be able to get into a space where I can deal with the top of the top as well.
Yeah, and I wonder, it sounds like you had some familial influences as well in the entrepreneurial space, right? And I did it, and I did as well, and I didn't realize until later in life that is what that was. Like my dad is a psychologist, and so he had his own psychological practice. I mean, he had a private practice. He saw patients, but I'll never forget. I was in high school or something, and I was going to his office, and I was always impressed. Like, oh, going to dad's office, and now my kids do the same thing, right? They come to my office, they're like, oh, cool, we're in dad's office now, and I remember him showing me one time, he had a letter that he was writing, some other doctor, and it was a thank you for a referral, right? And he wrote it on a typewriter, put it into an envelope, and sent it out. And I was like, "Why are you doing that?" He's like, "Well, this is how nurture relationships with referral partners." Not even thinking at the time like how impactful that was for his business, but how that really transformed, me into thinking like, "Oh, I could potentially be I didn't even know it was like a really a subtle influence of being an entrepreneur and starting my own firm. Starting my own law firm, my own real estate investment firm, all of that. And so it sounds like you had that familial influence as well.
100%. My granddad, so it's a area in Miami. It's called like the Little Havana. It's also the Opelika area. And at that particular time, there was a lot of military guys who were staying in those homes. So my granddad was buying up and building the homes there. He had him and my grandmother had excuse me, I'm sorry. They had a restaurant. They had two gas stations. And then they had the properties. So I was always, and then my grandmother also had like a Miami rescue mission where she had a facility that she helped battered women. So I was able to be around that literally all my life. So I kinda, just had an idea of knowing exactly, what I wanted to do and my reasoning behind it, far as to be able to create opportunities for others.
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of one of those things that you don't really think about. And I've talked about this before. Whenever I interview somebody like for a job, so to work for me, I always look for what I call that fire in the belly, right? That thirst you can't quench, right? That ownership mentality of over your work, over your life, over everything that you want. And some people who grow up in a family that have working parents, both parents are working and they're working for someone else. And I mean, that was the American dream in the 50s and 60s, right? It was you go in, you work for somebody for 30 years, you get your pension, you get your retirement, you retire in your 60s and 70s, and you ride off into the sunset. This day and age, that's not what we're doing. That's not what our younger people younger than us are definitely not doing it. Right. So that example really doesn't exist anymore. So it probably leads to why there's more and more entrepreneurs out there because the parents are not doing that.
And see, I think I was able to see both because my parents was also working class. My dad was an air traffic controller, and my mom worked for Miami Beach Police Department. So, but my dad also still did real estate and everything else on the side. So I
Yeah, you
was
had a
able to
side
see
hustle. Yeah.
exactly. I was able to see that, and then also seeing with my grandparents and them never working and things of that sort. So it was just kind of a great balance for me,
Yeah.
honestly.
Well, what fears did you have jumping into your own stuff,
Okay,
doing
so
your own
let me
deals?
let me be all the way honest with you, Todd. I'd be completely honest with you. My dad was in the military for over 10 years.
Mhm.
So I was raised by a very military dad.
Yeah.
I also was an athlete. When I growing up, I was always into sports. I played basically like how you have AAU or basketball. I played that in baseball, and I also played football. And where I played at it, and especially in the South Florida sports, is very, very, very competitive. Like extremely. It's no space for the weak at all. No one cares. It's strictly business. So I will say, growing up and having a dad like I had, and how I was raised, I don't know if it's a good thing. I don't know, maybe I need to talk to my therapist about it or something. But, I
No
don't really
fear of failure? I mean,
I
you
what's the worst thing that can happen? That's how I look at life. I was like, "Okay, what's the worst that can happen? Okay, even if I
mm,
failed, it was a learning lesson.
sure.
Let's do it
Yeah.
again." You know what I mean? So, I think I would beat myself up more by not trying. You know what I mean? So that's just more so how I look at things. I don't look at failure as a failure. I look at failure from an aspect of, "Okay, how can I learn from this? What can I do better? And then let's go at it again."
Right, it's a learning experience, right? You never what does Wayne Gretzky say? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
There we go.
Right, right. So, I had that mentality as well, just building my business, building my firm, building, I've said this in a prior episode, but when I was in law school, I would I would reach out to, I don't know, probably 10 or 15 lawyers every week of like, managing partners, high influential lawyers and other practice groups around Atlanta, just to reach out and have coffee with them. And just to say, hey, I want to do what you do. Can you just give me some career advice? Can you, and I was subtly making connections, right, with people that could be mentors and that could be referral sources for me later in life. But also, I was so thirsty and I wanted to learn that entrepreneurial game. And that applies even today, like I mean, younger people who are starting their real estate investment companies. I would highly recommend that, right? If you look up to, let's say, for instance, your Miami guy, or like the Related group, right? They're from Miami. I mean, you probably can't go to the CEO and get 20 minutes of his time, but you could probably find somebody there,
I
an
know
asset
actually
manager.
I actually have 3 contacts over there.
Yeah,
So,
so get on their calendar, take them out to lunch, take them out to coffee, and just pick their brain, right? How do you what do you like about your work? How did you get to where you are? What would you have done differently if you took, if you were in my shoes trying to get to where you are?
I would say a lot of my, early on success came from that, being able to, know the right questions to ask, be able to take the responses, take those responses home, research those responses, so when I get in their face again, I can lead off of those responses to get even more information and just continually keep building my knowledge up, just that.
What have your failures taught you about yourself?
I would say, emotional control and understanding the importance between, uh 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 it's a thin line between being prideful and having a great deal of ego. Because what you don't want to do is be ego driven. And one thing I can say for myself, I got in business very early and I had success very, very early. And I was very young. So, of course, when you're young, and then I go get the condo in North Bay Village, and then I go get the nice car. And it's kind of hard to hear when you're so young and you're getting success so fast. And I think a lot of that came with a great deal of ego. What my failure was, it wasn't the business. It was during the midst of even just building out the janitorial company before I got rid of that and transitioned into logistics, my grandmother passed away. And when she passed away, it hit me like a ton of bricks because I was always so used to being in self-control. Like nothing shakes me. I can get through anything. I don't break. I had all these false ideas in my head. I don't know, maybe being raised by a military dad or whatever the case may be, that what a man should look like or whatever the case may be. And when that took place, it basically exposed me. It exposed me that I wasn't as strong as I thought I was. I was moving off of ego.
Interesting.
I was so geared in my ego that I was allowing material possessions and things of that sort to kind of portray my strength instead of really having true strength within.
Mm,
Yeah, that was a big
I
exposure.
love that. I love that. Yeah. I mean, it's like ego masking as strength.
You see it all the time.
And oh yeah,
You see it all day
especially in
long.
real estate,
Exactly, like you see it all day long.
especially in real estate. You've got
Yeah,
guys out there claiming to be kings and
and
and they're just empty inside.
beyond empty. And you can, and like now, especially being where I'm at in life now, I can actually, you can see it. You can literally see it. Like you can see the guys, and it's no one in particular, but you can see the guys. They make some capital, and you can see when they're attaching themselves to things to get value for themselves because they don't have true value within. So, for example, I always say we can never outmarket a Lamborghini. We can never outmarket Lamborghini. You know what I mean? So, if you have an individual who lacks value within, what's the first thing he's going to do? Attach himself to something that already has a great deal of value. And now that becomes his life. Look at me, I'm in a Lamborghini. Look at me, I got this. Look at me, I have that. And in reality, with me, when I see that, I just see weakness. I see someone that really needs to take a break and sit down. And majority of them, they eventually crash out, and because they're not moving with any form of substance.
Well, that kind of gets to, one of the themes of this podcast is really like, what does it mean to build true wealth, right? What does it mean to build true wealth? Is it you got 6 Lamborghinis in the driveway, and you're happy, or is it, I posted actually on Instagram this morning. It was an interesting post where I said, if you've got a faith family, right, whatever faith you are, but you've got a faith community, you've got a hot spouse, you've got kids, you got access to a gym,
Mhm.
right? You're already rich. Act
Right.
like it,
Yeah,
right?
I actually seen that post. I like that.
Yeah. you
But see,
know, s-
when
yeah.
I look at it, what I learned too, Todd, because I have my views of what, wealth and success is to me. But I realized just through the years and meeting some individuals, some people really do feel that that's success to them. As long as I have a car, as long as I have the hot girl, and that's just what they believe. Now, granted, far as with me, I just look at things like when I think of success, I think of family, I think of great health, I think of having the ability to create opportunities for others. Like my why is always greater than Randall. And I feel like that's what allows me to continually push forward because I used to have this thing even when I was in pharmacy school. I was like, man, if I just stop at 140, $150,000, I'm selfish. And the reason why I thought that I was selfish is because I was stating to myself, granted, I can start a family and help my family, and me and my wife can put our finances together, whatever the case may be. But if I only stopped there, imagine how many other people I could have helped and I didn't because I stopped. Imagine how many other opportunities I could have created had I, really went and pushed myself to something greater than just looking at everything from a selfish measure of what I can receive. So my why is not an I. When I that's how I look at things. My
Yeah,
why.
well, talk more about that. I mean, what is your why, and how important for those listening, right? And I think we're going to attract a lot of listeners, different types of listeners to this podcast, but definitely those interested in pursuing wealth from all sorts of different angles. But what is your why, and why is it important to identify your why?
Okay, so my why, and I truly feel and believe that this is solely my purpose. I feel that my purpose in life is to come in and create change and create opportunity, to show individuals who what can be if you actually believe. If you actually believe and trust in yourself, what can be. I feel like that's my purpose, and my entire goal is to just go out and create opportunities. Even when it comes to the form of real estate, you look at the C class market, some of the not really the B, but especially if you look at the C class, a lot of properties you see they get neglected. And I feel and strongly believe just being able to, move around in multiple different environments, value start from home. And if you have a place where you call home, Todd, and you don't find value in your home, when you go out the door, you're not going to find value in yourself. So I even looked at it from a real estate, and that's why we say real estate with a purpose. My goal on the real estate side is to come into these properties and come into markets that's kind of been overlooked by the big guys and create value for the working class individual. And I believe if I create value in the place that they call home, I create value within their spirit. And then if I create value within their spirit, they'll go out into the community and create value to other people, which in return, everything is built. So that's how I actually look at, when it comes to the real estate space.
Yeah, yeah, and I like that. And you ask a lot of people what their why is. It's a kind of cliche. Everyone talks about it, and everyone, for me, it's providing, right? It's being able to provide, being able to live a legacy, being able to make sure my family is comfortable, and knowing that I'm the one providing that, right? That's one of our sacred duties, I think, as fathers and as husbands and leaders of the family. But what I run into, the issues I run into is and again, going back to having that fire in the belly, it's hard for me to turn it off sometimes. And I was watching some posts the other day about this. Oh, it was one of the actors that just died. Um, the guy was on Dawson's Creek. I don't know if you know that show or not, but he died recently. And there was a post. Yeah, there was a post by him, and he was talking about his identity. And he got a lot of his identity from being an actor. You know, it's like, oh, I'm an actor, right? That's who I am. And then when he had a kid, he was like, oh, I'm a father, like that's who I am. And he had some other business ventures, and that was who he was. And so his identity kind of kept changing, and I really resonated to me. That resonated with me because a lot of times I'll just think I'm a business owner, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a real estate investor, I'm a man, you know, and other parts of your life can get neglected when when you have those blinders on, right?
Mhm. I think we all went through that. I mean, I was once my identity came from what it was that I was doing and what I was receiving from an external source. The minute I started looking within, I became, it's like something I always say. It's like whenever that time come, hopefully it's 100 years from now. When someone speak on me and speak on my legacy, I always want them to say, and he was in business and he's did this, that, and the third. I don't want that to be my main force of identity. So I started working. Once I started working within, I started finding out who I was from the inside, and I just do certain things as far as from a career aspect. So I'm Randall, who's just so happened to buy a multifamily apartment.
Right, right, right. Well, and you probably heard of one of the famous trainers. I don't know what he was, but Stephen Covey.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
he wrote that book, the 10 habits of highly successful people, something like that. And he has this big thing called, which one of them is begin with the end in mind, right? And so literally, what are they going to say at your funeral, right? What kind of eulogy are they going to give? Are they going to say, oh, he was a great businessman, right? He's estranged from all of his kids, but he made $1 billion, right? Or are they going to say he's a family man, he's a community man, he's a faith-driven man, you know, his family loved him. He would give his shirt off to whoever he sees and someone in need. Oh, and by the way, you know, he left a huge legacy for his family,
Exactly. That's how I
right?
look at things.
Yeah. But it's hard.
Yeah,
Honestly, being I mean, you know, it's hard to always be like that.
it's not easy at all because I mean, firsthand, business is selfish. Business cares about business. So it's like when business don't care about family, it don't care about what the wife's saying at home, nothing. And I believe sometimes it's extremely hard to turn it off, especially if you're moving from a state of passion and with family in mind. If I'm doing this to provide for my family, it's very hard for me to turn it off when I come home if something is going wrong. So what helped me honestly is just start getting more hobbies.
More hobbies? Yeah, there you
More
go.
hobbies,
Yeah.
plenty more
Eh,
hobbies, man. I
well,
start
and
going
I
more and just, I'm in a private pilot, so I'll be done with that at the end of March, and
nice.
yeah, just get more hobbies.
Yeah, that's on my list, man, to learn how to fly planes.
Oh man, listen,
Have you been up there? Been up in the sky?
of course, I'll be done in March.
Wow,
Yeah,
dude.
of course. I can't wait. I think it just plays out well for me. Number one, I like to be interested. I don't like to be a one set individual. And then number two, especially when you think about the space that we play in, I mean, it makes things very much so easy to go do a tour of a property. You you have one group saying they want to come look at it. You have me saying it. This guy saying that give him 3 days. I'm saying I'd be there in 2 hours.
Are you gonna buy a plane or are you gonna rent one or how does
So
that work?
at the beginning, I'm going to do a membership program.
Oh, like net
Yeah,
jets or something like
yeah. No,
that?
no, 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 no. NetJets is more so like for the charter
That's for
side.
passengers, yeah, charters,
Exactly.
yeah.
You can actually get a membership program to actually be like for a private pilot. So you'll
Oh,
have
okay,
a
like
set
yeah,
amount
you
of
get like a
hours.
fractional okay, you get a
There
certain
we
amount of
go.
hours per
You
month
get
or
a certain
something?
amount of hours monthly, and then from that point on, if you go over those hours, you can just pay extra. My overall goal would be, once everything gets going, I had plans to maybe buy something like a Falcon 50, something like an 8 to 16 passenger. Take that plane and then dry lease that plane maybe to the federal government of sort, because you can do that. They dry lease all day long. Take the capital that comes from the dry lease on that plane to pay for my Vision Jet, which would be my personal, and then run
Mm,
it like that.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Take
That's
some
awesome.
clients on a flight to go look at some properties with the Guyton Capital logo on the
There
window.
you go. Yeah, man, 100%, 100%. You know, I find myself the drive inside of me, like I said, is the provider aspect. But if I think about it deeply, it comes from fear. It comes from, I mean, wanting to obviously build and grow, but also being afraid of not not being able to provide. Right? I feel like I start every month at zero. Right? I've earned $0 this month. So what am I going to do? I'm going to earn money this way, this way, this way.
Which is important because, even just being an entrepreneur, you have nobody patting you on the back saying, "Good job."
Right.
You don't get an employee of the month reward. I mean, you own your own firm. No one's coming in and saying, "Hey,
No
Todd,
one's saving you.
here you go." So, you gotta keep motivating yourself. So,
Yeah,
whatever way
yeah.
you can do that.
And that's important, for those the listening that are on the fence, that are thinking about, making the jump into multifamily, or making the jump into buying a business, or buying becoming an entrepreneur. I always say to people, like, and even through the coaching program, it's not a get rich quick scheme, right? It's not. I mean, it's, building true wealth takes time, and you can certainly replace your salary with a couple multifamily deals a year, but you got to be ready to do something like that. You got to be ready.
I think it's like what we used to say in football. Like they would say, heart can't be coached. You either have it or you don't. You know what I mean? So I think it's the same in business. I think everybody likes the glitz and glam. The idea to wear the nice suit, the Hugo Boss suit, the Armani suit, whatever, the made to measures, the fly around, to look at properties and everything else like that. But when things get real, well, it and you got to stomach something, or you got to take some form of a loss. That's when it comes down to see if you truly and really want to be in the game. And I think that's the part that can't be coached. And I think that's just in business as a whole, because you will get, hit with. I mean, when I was in the logistics space, oh my gosh, that was a business that never slept. And we was running on government contracts. At that time, I had 31 trucks, and you just never know what you're gonna get. You know what I mean? So yeah, you definitely had to be able to stomach.
That's awesome, man. Gosh. Well, let's transition a little bit to kind of, buying your first property, and you joined Multifamily Deal Makers, which is our mentorship community, coaching community, and just maybe talk a little bit about, why you chose the program, why you chose to work with me, and kind of what it was like, kind of going through that, and then getting your first deal.
Right, right, right. So yeah, so going towards, like I said, buying the first property. So I did do single family deals. I did single family deals already. I was doing that in St. Louis with the Section 8 side of things, but I never really transitioned into the multifamily. I knew that I actually wanted to get into the fund aspects inside of things, and that's why I had got the B506C fund and everything set up. But I was just kind of like a little. So once I was continually studying the market and I had some capital sitting to the side, I always liked what I seen in Atlanta, and I started in Atlanta looking around and reaching out to brokers and things of that sort. And nothing against Atlanta, but Atlanta is kind of different. You know what I mean? And it just became, I just leave it there. But it became kind of it started to feel like it was kind of hard to find someone that you can trust.
Oh, you feel like it was kind of hard to break into?
I feel like it was kind of hard to break in the sense of finding like trustworthy people. Like you had a lot of people that were saying things, but they weren't really like what you said earlier, they weren't really doing it at all. And I'm real big on, having a proper moral compass. It's not really just about money, and so if I can meet a man and he can tell me everything he wanna tell me about business and opportunity, but if I look at that man and I can say, "I would never invite him to my child's birthday party," or, "I'd never let him to my home," I don't wanna be associated with you because it's the law of proximity. Something on you can rub off on me, and I don't really want it. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
yeah, fast forward, I was home one day. I'm trying to remember how, Todd. I'm not gonna lie to you. I know I was looking around and researching, but I know I ran across you online, but I don't think it was social media or something like that. I don't know if it was the firm. I believe I want to say I feel like it was your firm. And then I started researching your name, and I started looking up different content that you put out. And then we jumped on the phone. And one of the things that I liked about you a lot, you was very knowledgeable in the market, but most importantly, you were not trying to sell. Because truthfully, I wasn't looking for a guru. Like, I felt like I already had a great deal of understanding. I just needed the little pieces to be put together within that market. And when I met you, you were not selling at all. It was just like it was two individuals just having
Just to
a
get a
normal.
deal done. Yeah.
Exactly. And another thing that I liked about you too, I'm not gonna lie, you had your firm. So I knew this wasn't a guy who was looking to make capital off of getting a student, and this was his only source of income. So he's gonna
Oh,
so
interesting. Yeah.
he's already building something else, and this is something else that he was doing. So once we hit it off on the phone, and I felt real good about the conversation. Of course, after we hung up, I told you I was going to get back in contact with you. That's when I started doing my research. I started looking you up, just trying to see your web presence, to see who you were as a man. You know what I mean? And I see pictures with your kids and everything else, and I'm like, oh, you know what? I like him. And then like, let me go ahead. Like I like him, and he's on the legal side of things. So even if it wasn't in the form of a deal, I still would get access to what I need, far as pertaining to the legal side and relationships and everything. So that's really what pushed me towards. I mean, it's been beautiful to me. I mean, it's been everything that I expected it to be.
That's awesome, man. Well, and a couple of things there. So before we transition into the actual deal that we bought, like let's even for those that are getting into this game, want to get into multifamily, hear what Randall said about looking me up after we had an initial phone call. If you're
I
not out there, and it's just this day and age, you've got to put yourself online. It's
Yeah,
just
you
if
definitely.
people can't find you, they can't see what you're doing, they can't read about you, at least professionally on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the place where most people will look up somebody. If they don't have a LinkedIn profile, then it's like, what are these guys even doing, right?
Especially even when you look at, and that's another thing when I was looking at you, how you market yourself. Because everybody comes with the smoke and mirrors. I live in South Florida. I done lived in multiple high rises and everything else. We see all the rented Lamborghinis, and where you see that all day long. I got maybe 6 Lamborghinis on my garage floor downstairs. So it's like when it comes to marketing, it's like, how is he marketing himself? Is he trying to hit you with the smoke and mirrors, or is
Right.
he coming with just pure, information? And like I said, when I was actually looking you up, I never seen anything that was I mean, honestly, I don't think I seen one post that was kind of pushing a smoke and mirror, look what I have type situation. I didn't see that anywhere. And that was definitely a plus for sure, for sure. And I
Yeah,
would
and
tell you
and
as
and
well.
I would just transition that for those listening from an investor perspective, right? If you're trying to attract investors, you need to put yourself out there. You need to put yourself content out there. You need to put your website out there. You need to show people that you're an expert,
For
right?
sure.
Because if you're asking me to invest $100,000 with you and I can't find anything online about you, I can't tell that you know what you're doing.
Why would I give you 100 grand?
Why would you give you 100 grand?
It's not coming.
Right. So that it's funny now that mentality even applies, for looking someone up to join a coaching program or to join a mentorship program, but it applies to any other sort of sales job or entrepreneurial type job, right?
100%, 100%. I would say for anyone even looking, like, don't get caught up with the smoke and mirrors. If they're leading with the smoke and mirrors, trust me, it's a mass illusion. It's being done for a reason, and you should be very wary of that for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and so we had a couple deals we were looking at, and
Correct.
you signed up. It was the one-on-one mentorship, so we
Mhm.
immediately dove right into a 16 unit. I think
Yeah,
you
and
you
Jonesboro to be
talk about
exact.
that a little bit, that
Oh yeah, so
process.
the Jonesboro deal, when I ran across that and we underwrote it and everything else like that, it wasn't a bad deal. But what I would say, number one, it was a 16 unit. So me and you both know when it's dealing with a 16 unit, the occupancy can easily get hit when it takes 1 to 2 people, and that makes it kind of hard to be bankable. And then number two, it definitely had a great deal of eyesores. Remember when we went out and looked at it? Well, it looked like a bomb. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Well,
Well, you flew up from
yeah,
Miami. I met you at
exactly,
the property,
exactly. You met
and
me
we
out
toured
there.
it. We toured it together.
We
Yep.
put it together, and it was just kinda like, it felt like, one of those deals, and I'm real big on not being emotional, especially in this space, you can't be, and it just felt like one of those deals that would have definitely been, emotional buy, and yeah, we end up, backing out of that one,
Well,
and,
and why? I think it was because
the
the,
price
the
point,
price
even
was
in
too high,
the price was too
right?
high, and even being able to be bankable, being the fact that it had the vacancy rate. I think the vacancy rate we had put in to actually force them to get up to at least, I think they had to get up to like 91, 92%, I
Yeah, and
believe,
that was to
and they were
to
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 close,
comply
and they
with
were struggling.
agency financing,
Yeah, and
right?
they were struggling. They were struggling really bad. So
Yeah, it had really attractive assumable debt. if I remember correctly, like in the 3%.
I think that was the biggest marketing push for them. But even when I underwrote it, we would have been more profitable going to get our own than taking on theirs.
Right, right.
So that's why we was actually gonna
Right,
go out.
but the process, going through that process,
Mhm.
you and I were working hand in hand
Yeah,
on
yeah, definitely.
analyzing it, right?
Uh-huh.
I mean, I think I introduced you to some of the lenders, right?
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah, yeah. On that one, I believe that's
that
where you
we're
introduced to, Thomas.
Thomas, yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we'll have him on here.
Yeah.
Last time he's my debt broker at CBRE. Last time we had him
And see,
talking community.
and that goes back to what I was saying earlier, even when coming on board, the relationships. Todd already had a great relationship stamped in the Atlanta market for sure, so it was just kinda like a no-brainer. And he already had a name. He had a credible name. He wasn't pushed in the market as being someone who's gonna take the money and run off and be a and, he had a good report about himself, so it makes building relationships that much more easier, especially if you're going into a new market, for sure, for sure. You'll wanna be attached to someone who has
I've done that for quite a few people that want to get into the Atlanta market for sure. And I think my reputation, I think it expands beyond the Atlanta market, but definitely in Atlanta, people want to get into this market. They can do it through me, just really me connecting with everyone that I know here,
for sure.
right?
100%. 100%.
Right. And so then and again, you had to put some money down for the
Yeah,
inspection.
yeah, yeah, on that one,
I think you
maybe.
lost a little bit. It's just sunk
Yeah,
costs, right?
but that come with the game, Todd.
Right.
I mean, like, yeah, so and I would tell anybody, if you're gonna go into this space, you gotta expect that, you're gonna have to put some due diligence out, and it might not pan out. You know what I mean? So you wanna make sure that when you do decide to, put a LOI out there and sign a PSA, you wanna make sure that you have some form of capital to get things going, at least until you start raising capital, because if you don't have any form of anything, I mean, it'll be a little bit tight for you.
Right. Yeah. So then talk about the one we actually did close, right? The 80 unit. I mean, you found that deal, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, after the Jonesboro situation, we decided to go a different direction on that. I started going back and just doing some research and looking for more opportunities, and I came across the Village College Park. Now, when I first came across it, a couple of things that I liked about it a lot is number one, the occupancy rate. Number two, it was affordable housing, and things of that sort. And it was a pretty well maintained property. But the price point that it was actually looking at really didn't make any sense for the deal to work. I believe
What did they originally ask
6.2,
for?
6.2, 6.2,
6.2. And you ended up buying it for
4.75.
5.75. So they took $450,000 off.
Yeah,
Which is funny
changed a
because
lot.
I'm looking at I just toured another property in Marietta,
Okay.
75 unit owned by the same guy.
Well, they actually, I don't know if that's the one that was actually sent to me. I believe you should be attached on that email as well.
I saw the one from the
Yeah,
Browns, the broker.
he was on
Yeah,
the call. He reached out to me. He said he had 2 more that they was looking to actually get rid of, and he
that
sent
was
to
in
me.
McDonough.
Correct, at McDonald. I
Yeah,
told him I was gonna underwrite him and get back
yeah,
with
those
him.
are light tech deals as well, I think.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. So cool. Yeah. So walk the listeners through kind of how that went.
Well, yeah, so the as far as with the village, once I actually, got my eye on that underwrote it, I seen where it made sense to actually go about it. That's when I start, reaching out to the brokers and getting a tour of the property and just getting a gauge and getting a feel of, how motivated the actual sellers were. And making sure that, even when it comes into the form of our negotiation, just making sure that we're not negotiating from an aspect where we're just asking for a price decrease without really having a stamp. And I think one of the issues that was taking place on them, they was asking for top dollar, but the property, when it comes from an NOI aspect, it wasn't worth that. That was more so from a future value per se that it was trying to actually capture. And another thing that I like a lot about them as well, even when it comes to the affordable and the light properties, they were not even up to market rent on that side. So it was a lot of room for increase in value. But I think the increase in value really would have came from just tightening up when it comes to management, which was something that I knew for a fact I knew how to be done.
Yeah. Yeah. So then we had to, you had to qualify for the loan and we had to raise the capital for it.
Correct. And that's when that came into play, as far as bringing you guys in, as far as with you and AVP.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was able to create some strategic partnerships for you, and brought in some capital raisers that I know that obviously got a piece of the GP, and we all worked out what those details would be. Um, and I this one, and I don't offer this to everybody, but because it was in my backyard, and Randall's a great guy, I actually guaranteed the deal.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Todd AP this deal.
right, became the KP, guaranteed the deal for it was a Freddie loan, I think, right? It was a Freddie or Fannie.
That's something too that you should throw out there too, Todd, when it comes to even individuals getting in this space. Not every deal you will have the net worth to actually be able to close on. So you will want to make sure that you're building relationships with individuals who may have it, or have relationships with individuals who can actually have it, so you guys can get the deal closed. Because that's where the KP will actually come into play.
And that's, and it's funny. We're building. It's a huge point, and we're building our bench of KPs right now within multifamily deal makers. So we've got, we have dozens of KPs right now in the community that are willing to sign on the loans, on particular loans. Obviously, you've got to give away, a certain amount of GP to get your deal done off the rip, but that's fine, because again, it goes back to how important is it to build your track record. It's the most important thing when you're getting started. And if you got to give away, 80% of a deal so that you can get your capital raisers and get your KPs in, then it's worth it, right? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I was definitely saying.
Yeah, because otherwise, I mean, in this particular deal, it was a $5.7 million purchase. I think the loan was 3.5 roughly.
Yeah. No, no. The loan was what is it? 4?
4 something. Yeah. It changed at the last minute.
Correct.
So you need to have a net worth, not you in particular, but the GP team needs to have a net worth of at least the loan amount, so at least $4 million plus liquidity of at least 10% of the loan amount.
Correct.
And so if you don't have that, if you're looking to get into this space and you don't have, and that's why, we're now starting the recruitment really for other members. And one of the things we ask initially is, you've got to have $50,000 to $100,000 liquid to join.
Yeah. You will want to. If you don't have at least 50 to 100, like, I honestly think that you should probably wait. But then again, it's even like, just get understanding, because there's still ways that you can get to 50 even if you don't have it liquid.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
multiple ways. If you got good credit, you can go get it from there. Like, it's multiple.
You can borrow, you can do convertible note. There's a lot, but if you got to have, again, and what I always say is, you either have hustle, you've got money, or you've got the knowledge, right? That's what gets you into a deal. If you don't got the money, you don't got the knowledge, you got hustle, right? You can go in and hustle some deals, and you can find some off-market opportunities. If you got access to capital, that gets you on the team, or if you've got education, you can underwrite it and provide that value. That's going to be the biggest thing here. And then for you, this was a great deal that you found, and it was in our backyard, so it was a no-brainer.
It was really a good solid one. What we 24% investor IRR return. It's been going pretty good. We've been getting things in order from an internal aspect. I would say we probably about 300,000 in value created on the past 2.5 months or so, 2.5, 3 months, just by just getting management and maintenance type. We have our in-house maintenance team working on that deal now. We actually completing our first light renovation on a turnover unit, just to get him in the field. That's why I was at the property yesterday, just doing evaluation to make sure and pointing out certain things that he needs to correct. We're gonna roll that one out, even just with, light things, adding pulleys to the cabinets and just lighting it up. We end up getting the full market rate for that one. When it comes to the light, we got that one under contract for $1,650. And it's a
What was it before? How much did we increase the rent?
1,400. It was 1,400 before. We increased it, what, $350?
Well, it's $1,650,
Okay,
$250.
$250. There we go.
But wait, so for that unit, what upgrades did you do?
All we did, I changed the colors of the wall. So I went with the soft gray.
So we repainted the walls.
We painted the walls. Remember the kitchen? We had the brown wood. I had that sand repainted to white.
Okay.
The countertop, I had that blasted to be painted to white. I put handles up, and then I put the peel and stick backsplash. You guys are gonna see it all when it's done. And then the light fixture, we just changed the light fixture in the kitchen to put the matte black, and changed all the faucets, and as well as the sinks and everything to the low flow, so we can capture on that water bill. And yeah, just like that.
And so that how much do you think those renovations cost us?
Oh man, so 90% of everything has been done in house. Right now, when I checked, we was up like $600, $700.
Wow.
Like
I mean, we're paying
it's
our maintenance guy, but there's labor. I mean, there's labor and materials that we're paying, right?
exactly. So the maintenance guy, he's getting paid just directly through his salary. And then as far as with the material and everything else like that, I would say we about 700 bucks. I couldn't see. I mean, before when we came in, they was paying everything up from 2,500 to about 3,000 for a turnover, and it wasn't even including the things that we were doing. Whole while having a full time maintenance staff at the property, which I never ever understood that. So
And that's a two
yeah,
bedroom, right?
no, this is a three.
Oh, it's a three bedroom for sixteen
Yeah,
fifty.
yeah, but this is a part of the Light Tech program. So
Yeah.
that
Oh,
was
got it.
we
Yeah.
did
So
for it.
that was one of the ones where it still complies with the LIHTC requirement, but we just bumped the rents up $250,
Just pumped it up.
and we only spent $600 to do that.
Yeah, there
So
we
guys,
go.
that is the value add game in multifamily, right? Yeah, how much can you spend, and what kind of rent premium, rent bump can you get? And when you multiply that and compound it over 80 units, what you're doing is you're building your NOI. And when you build your NOI, the higher the NOI, the higher the valuation, right? Remember, multifamily properties are evaluated based on cap rate and NOI, nothing else. Not fair market value, not what a property sold down the street, but what does that particular property produce in cash flow? So Randall just increased this by $250 for not now. Now, if you get a $250 rent bump after spending 10 grand, that may not, that's going to be tough to value, right? But that's an amazing result.
I'm actually working on I'm working on another. I'm working with DCA to try to see if we can get a push through. So we actually have the washer and dryer hookups inside the units. However, we can't control the water consumption. So what I'm
Right.
working with them, and also we don't have that we supposed to provide washers and dryers, but we do have washers. We have that we supposed to provide it, but on site, which we have
We
at
have
the
a
club.
laundry facility, right?
Exactly. So what I was trying to work with them to see if we can use the hookups as some form of an amenity fee, where for them to put a washer and dryer in their unit, they have to pay. That's basically like it's like if you're dealing with Section 8 and you put
Yeah,
a
100%. We can rent them the units or put it in there.
exactly, or we can just rent them. We can release the actual hookups for them to use and add an extra 25, $30 on that, but we run that across 80 doors, more
Yeah,
value to increase.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah,
So I'm actually working with them, and I should be having some form of a response on that. If not today, I should hear something on Tuesday on that
nice.
side of it.
Nice. Awesome, man. Well, that's amazing. And I know you did those McDonough deals, McDonough, Georgia deals. Those are, I guess you're underwriting those as well as potentially the next iteration.
I'm actually gonna underwrite those. I was working on another deal. I actually could want to get something knocked out the first quarter. I actually put a LOI and got that signed at the end of January in Indianapolis, 112 unit. They wanted 9 million for it. I got them down to 8. Uh, as a investor IRR of 24% conservatively. Uh, it'll need about 500,000 in capex, but that's in the span over 3 to 5 years. I also went ahead and got a soft quote done through my capital partners on that side, and they approved on $250,000 added to the loan, as far as for the start of the renovation. So we have that in play. We right now started in the PSA process side of things, and that's another deal I was going to bring to you guys. But you know me, I like to get it
Get
in order.
ready.
Bam,
So
look
you
at
got
it.
the LOI actually executed then.
Oh yeah, the LOI is already
Okay.
executed.
All right.
That's
Who
done.
you said you've already fly spec the loan?
Yeah. I actually have a context that I already have.
Okay.
So I
Who's the
had
loan? Who's the loan
yeah,
through?
I went through a young lady who I know by the name of Paula in Virginia. They out of Chicago.
Oh.
So I went through them. And it's on the private side, so I didn't go through Thomas on this side for that.
No, I know, but is it agency or can it go Fannie and Freddie?
So this deal can potentially, I believe it can go potentially on Fannie and Freddie, being the fact that it's over 92% occupied. But right now, I didn't go that route. I wasn't looking at that route. I was more so trying to see if we can get something that can also include the renovations on the capex side.
So you wanted to go bridge.
Correct.
Yeah. What's the rate on it? The interest rate.
7.2%.
Okay. So the deal we closed
Non-recourse.
non-recourse. Yeah, the deal we closed in Buckhead at the end of the year, $10.5 million. That was a bridge loan. The interest rate on that one, and we may maybe we want to check with these guys. That interest rate was 6.1%
6.1%.
on a bridge loan.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that's, we can maybe look at something like that for this one. But I like the Indianapolis market. I do like the
Workforce
Midwest.
flexibility. Yeah,
You
I
know,
like it a lot. I like it a
have you
lot.
visited the property?
Of course. I've been there twice.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been to the property twice. Of course, before I even submit a LOI, I wanted to go out there and see it. My first time going to see the property was the day before the national championship. For
Oh,
yeah, so I
got it.
went out there. And it was, oh my gosh, it was so cold.
Yeah.
and, and then I went out again, and I have plans to go out once we get everything tied up.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Awesome, man. Well, that's exciting. We're coming kind of towards the end of the episode, and I wanted to just kind of finish with a few thoughts, right? A few pearls of wisdom that I think you could impart on the next guy or the next woman or the next person listening to this podcast, and maybe they're stuck in a job or they're analyzing deals at night and they're afraid to move forward. What would you tell them? What piece of advice would you give them?
The best advice that I would give them is, number one, trust is something greater than yourself, while also trusting in you and understanding that we only got one life. What's the worst that can happen? What's the worst that can happen? One of the greatest gifts that I believe God gave us is the ability to adapt and try again. And I would say, if this is something that you want to do, I would say go for it, but do not go for it from a emotional aspect. Especially if you're a newbie, get with someone like Todd.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Someone that can really, give you information that you need, especially if you're just coming in the game. I would not advise you to come in this game blindly. And you don't want to come in this game playing with the guys who might be, just running from Todd, that type of situation. So I would say, yeah, the best advice I can give, just do it. Understand it's not an overnight process. You're going to go through your stomachs. It's a part of the game. Everybody's going to go through it. But as long as you just stay consistent and you just sharpen yourself and you understand everything that comes with it, whether that's from the KP side, capital raising side, also as well as importantly managing the asset side. Because if you get the KP right and you get the capital right and you screw up on the management, now you can't pay your investors and you're out anyways. You know what I mean? So I would say just go for it and trust in something greater than yourself while also trusting in you.
Yeah, that's good advice. It's good advice. It's kind of like trust, trust but verify. I don't know if you'd have that same perspective with God. You trust God, unconditionally, but but God still expects you to put in the work, right?
100%. I trust God, but He also gives me free will.
Right,
You know what I
right,
mean? I
right.
can't say I trust you, God, and I'm gonna go sit on the sofa and He's gonna just drop something in my hand. That's not how it
Right,
works.
right, right. You got to put in the work, right?
You
But
gotta
having that,
know when to make it work.
yeah, having that backdrop is absolutely crucial. So awesome, man. Well, I can't wait to see what's next for Guyton Capital. I'm excited to be a part of your journey. I'm so glad you joined the community and we were able to do some deals together. Let's keep building.
Let's do it. Let's do it, man. Thank you for having me.
All right, thanks. Take care.
All right, take care, Todd.